What is going on, guys? The Virtual All Gaming with my review of Kekkai Sensen episode 5, and this episode, to me, it was pretty awesome. Not only did we get introduced to another new character, we learned that Kekkai and Steven, they are still alive, and our new member, Dog Hummer, this guy is pretty freaking awesome, and their backstory is kinda messed up. But the episode itself, it starts off with Leo once again going to visit White, and for some reason she's like really moody, and right now it's just not going that well between them. But we see now that Leo and Zap, they were like hanging out, and of course Leo is right now dealing with like these women problems, and we have Zap kind of being a nice guy, and like trying to talk to him, but Leo was like, even if he did have some serious woman problems, then that would be the last person he would go to. And that right there was funny, because these two have probably the most rockiest like friendship in the entire series. But we see now that while they were like riding on his moped, we see now that they were going to get something to eat, but they had to make it in time because they did have a meeting, to attend. But while they were out, there was like some kind of like metal beast came out of nowhere, because we see now that like Zap here, like you could tell that like Zap had no interest in going into the meeting, and Leo pretty much had to like force him to go. And we see now that like Leo actually took control of his eyes, and it's definitely nice to see that like Leo like can definitely like joke around and play some, and not only get his eyes in like very serious situations. But we see now that while they were driving around, there was like this huge red truck that like came out of nowhere, and then we like had some kind of like metal beast come out of nowhere and actually bite down on that truck and caused it to blow up. And so now we see that while they were driving, like obviously trying to escape from this beast of a machine, we see now they was definitely after them, because we saw it, we saw all these other cars while it was just so set on on getting them. But now we have now we have Abraham and Klaus. They had went to some place called the Pandorum Asylum, and we see now that there was some guy in captivity called Dog Hummer, and we learned actually that the person behind this was named Aligura, and apparently Aligura did something to Dog Hummer here, and we see now that when Dog Hummer was free, his blood had a will of his own, and we see it now attached to Abraham. And so obviously, like there's something special about this guy, and that right there is what we learn about later on. But while we have Zap and Leo, trying to escape, Leo here actually got separated from Zap, and we see him now, clinging onto the machine by his clothes, and we have the one person behind this, Aligura. She had, of course, so Leo, and she took him onto the machine, as a hostage. But it was funny though, how even though Leo was like barely hanging on, him and Zap, I believe, was like having, a very funny conversation. But now we learn, thanks to Aligura, that we learned that she had this boyfriend who name was the bro, or I believe you call him Brody now. But this guy here, he was her boyfriend, and to her he was perfect, in a like personality wise, but appearance wise, his looks, was like left to be desired. And that right there is where she met Hummer, and to Hummer now, he was like perfect to her. So what she did was she had liquefied, Brody. And then she like drained all the blood from Hummer, and what she did was she combined them, and we see now that like she had injected Brody into Hummer's body, and that they were like acting as his blood, and that they was like definitely like very, very crazy to do, but somehow it worked. And even though we now have two blood users, Zap and Hummer, these two cannot be more different, and that was what I like. Even though in the most basic terms, they are like very, very similar, their powers work entirely differently, and that was like definitely one thing I was digging. But now we see now that when Aligura finally sees Hummer again, because we saw that like Steven and Abraham, they had brought him to her. we see now that when he finally, remembers her, because at first he didn't. That right there is where he actually, springs into action, and we see him now, use the power for the first time, and it's called Exo Crimson, and so what that does, it like covers him, in blood. And it makes him look like a red hog beast, but the thing is though, he is like red and black, and to me he looked freaking awesome. And we see now that when he punched the machine, I thought at first that right there might stop it, and this guy will like be a hero. But what they did was like the rebound from the punch actually sent this guy flying, and that right there was hilarious. But we see now that even when you would think his punch did not do that much damage, it actually did, because for like a certain amount of time, it did stop the machine. And we actually learn now, or we see that Leo and Aligura, these two were actually getting a little bit buddy, because Aligura here wants to know more about Leo, and she wants to know more about his love life, and even though he was denying feeling anything, for White, I definitely think that was a lie, because to me, it's so obvious that there's something there, between them. But obviously, this machine, it did not stay down for long, and so we see now that they all have to come up with a plan so that they can actually, work together. And it was definitely nice to see, more of Kekkai and Steven, because like I said, like last week, I thought those two were dead, and I am so glad that they're back. And we see now that they're Steven weapon, or whatever you want to call it, that allows him, to use his powers. It is actually attached to the bottom of his shoes. So there was interesting, because I do wonder if he wanted to, could he take that off, and let's say maybe he could have like Ice Fist, even though there might be a stretch. I do wonder if that right there was possible. But we see now that all of them have worked together, and they pretty much even Leo, even though he was the hostage, he played a major role in this. But what happened was all of them worked together to lead this thing into one place. And what was going to happen was, Hummer and Brody, they were going to put all their strength, into attacking the centers to break it. But we see now that when the machine got closer to them, that there was not going to work. And Hummer, recognized that. And so what he did was he made Brody, because Brody is the one mostly in control of the blood beast, I guess you can call it. He made Brody put most of the blood into his fist, and that right there was actually strong enough to break the machine up. Now, what was funny was, because you would see all these pieces, all these metal scraps falling to the ground, and you would think that right there would be it, but no, these guys keep it real, and they said there were hundreds, if not thousands of casualties, but the numbers, it was never totaled, because all these metal scraps falling, especially on these people, that right there should cause a lot of casualties. Oh, and there was one thing that I forgot. It was the King of the Spirit. The villain from the first episode. Him and White's brother. Now, I don't believe we know his name yet, but these two are apparently close, because we saw them now eating together, and we also saw them at the beginning of the episode as well. But these two were eating together, and they were also watching over what Aligura was doing. So I do wonder, what kind of role will White brother play in this? Because it's just evil or not. Because if he's hanging with the King of Despair, then obviously he cannot be that good. But now we see that that after it was all over, Leo had some very minor injury, which was good. But we see now that he was at the hospital, and he was watching White. But then after a while, he was going to leave, but the monkey, who name is now Sonic, that monkey was staying there, and Leo was pretending that he was going to leave him behind. But obviously, Leo could not do that, and his consciousness got the better of him. So what he did was he went back to White's room, and actually managed to sneak her out. And so they were going to go see a movie now, and this movie, I'm not sure if I'm the only one that pick up on this, but the movie that they were watching, it was based on, you know, a real life film called Twins, and that right there had Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. So hopefully, you know, people did pick up on that, because I definitely did. But we see now that while we were watching it, White here was like actually crying, because, you know, that right there had to hit home with her, you know, like on some kind of level, especially if it made her cry. And even Leo was like able to, you know, relate to that, because his sister, well to him anyway, his sister was the well put together one. He probably sent her like nothing but a failure or a mistake, because he even called him sympathetic. Oh, and there was like, I almost forgot, because that right there is what he was on anyway, because we saw White, you know, move closer to Leo and like bring him closer. So obviously, you know, like their relationship definitely deepened, you know, like after watching that movie. But there was like this one scene where, you know, after Hummer got, you know, like bounced back after that punch, we see now that this guy is definitely a major hit with the ladies, because like even Shane and Kekkai fell for him, and to me that right there was hilarious. But like the episode, like the episode overall to me was definitely good. I loved it personally. You know, Hummer's the beast, and I can't wait to see more of him. Now I do wonder, will, you know, Aligura be back for him, because obviously I doubt, you know, she'll give up that easily. But for rating overall, I have to give it probably an 8 or a 9 out of 10, because to me it was definitely that good. But of course, you know, let me know what you all thought, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because that really helps me out. But as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.